As we go through this next project and the PowerPoint for it, make sure that you open this Google Doc that should be on Classroom and follow along, fill in some of these different things in the notes. And then the bottom half is going to go over some different steps for brainstorming and starting to come up with your ideas for this project. You're eventually going to turn this in, so make sure that you're taking your time with it and going through each question and answering them completely. But this project is called the Themes Project, and the purpose of it is to see how to come up with themes and represent those in your assignments, because every project after this one from here on out is going to be based around a specific theme. And this is the last project that is specifically assigned. So every project in the future is going to be open-ended and based off of what you specifically want to do, which we'll talk more about in the future. But again, your challenge for this project is to come up with a creative object as a surface that will help to represent a specific theme that will be assigned to you. The creative object cannot be paper or canvas, so you're using something other than paper or canvas for this project. You're then going to incorporate more symbols into your artwork to continue to help push and represent your theme, and you're going to choose at least one technique to apply to your project. So I know there's a lot of steps here and a lot of requirements with this assignment, but all of this is on the brainstorming and we'll go through it slowly, so it'll make sense as we go. And then the last thing on here is making sure you still have a clear focal point and incorporate the elements of art and compositional rules. So every project that we are doing in here up to this one and including this one are things that I'm going to expect to see on every project in the future. So when you get to your own specific projects, I'm still going to expect you to use different techniques, go above and beyond with your application of materials and being creative with the type of materials that you choose to use, always using composition and things like that. So make sure that every project you're taking these different things away from and being able to apply them in the future. A little bit about your project themes. After this assignment, like I said, you'll be on your own, beginning to create projects for your AP portfolio exam. On the AP portfolio, you need to have an essential question, it's called, and you'll respond to that question in your artwork. So every artwork that you create from now on needs to be based around a theme. For this project, I'm going to assign you a theme. I'll assign you an essential question to choose from. There's a bunch that you can kind of go through, so you can still pick something that you're interested in. But it's just something to kind of give you an idea of how essential questions work, how to get started with them and display them in your artwork. But first of all, before we look at the different essential questions, let's talk about what they are. Essential questions are open-ended and they're intended to provoke thought, inquiry, discussion, and understanding related to a big main idea. So related to a specific theme is a question, and in your artwork, you're going to basically be answering that question. Essential questions offer opportunities for students to consider evidence, challenge assumptions, and support their ideas. So you're basically providing support for your questions and giving the viewer a way to see what you're trying to say and see how you're answering a specific question or idea. Enduring understandings are long-term understandings related to the big idea or your theme, and these are responses but not answers. So you're showing in your artwork that you understand a theme that will be developed throughout every project from here on out, and you're connecting knowledge and skills throughout the year to this. So the purpose of an essential question is so that artists and designers can take their experience, inform their thinking and art making, and then from those experiences there's different questions that you might think of or different ideas that will be sparked to guide your investigation throughout the rest of the semester, which we will talk more about after this project when you get started on your own specific essential questions. Artists and designers investigate how materials, processes, and ideas all work and relate to each other, and then how they relate to interpretations of the work itself. So basically, again, you'll have a question that you're researching, investigating different answers to, and answering those through your artwork throughout the rest of the year, rest of the semester. There's a couple different ways that we're going to look at to answer your questions in your artwork, and the first is symbolism, and then color, value, exploration, experimenting, synthesis, and revision. So a bunch of different ways that we'll be using throughout the year. Here's a few student examples of end portfolios with their questions, just so you can kind of get an idea of where we're headed with this. So this person would have had a lot more pictures that they did submit at the end of the year, but I just picked two here to show you. But the question that they were basing this artwork off of is, how can the body we live in for decades degenerate itself in nature? So you can see that their style of artwork, the color, the different symbols that they chose, all are helping to answer and show this question through their process and through their projects. And then here's another one. How have humans manipulated the natural environment, and how have these changes affected us? So same thing, you can see symbols, color choices, the style of artwork that are all helping to enforce the question. And then the last example, how does trauma personify our view of the world, and how can we personify it? All right, so a little bit about symbolism in artwork. Symbolism in art is one of the most important elements that can give your artwork depth. And symbols can be something broad, such as a storm that symbolizes danger that's used over the entire artwork. Or it could be something more specific, like maybe a little broken glass texture on part of the image that could symbolize separation or insecurity or brokenness. So really a symbol could be any object, and then your brain is naturally going to connect that object with a specific emotion or feeling. And it could be different for everyone. So if you're using one symbol in your artwork, one person might feel uneasy looking at it, one person might feel happy looking at it. So it's kind of whatever you connect with those specific objects. But definitely go off of your own experiences for what you're putting into your artwork. Using comparison is a great way to relate to a deeper meaning with metaphor or a simile. So think about something like the strength of a diamond, or the strength of an ocean wave, or a diamond to symbolize elegance or value. So think about objects, what they symbolize, and how you can relate to them. It's all about showing something in your artwork versus making it super obvious and telling someone upfront what you're trying to get across. So here's a list of some different objects and what they symbolize, just for some examples to get you started. So for an example, a chain could represent things coming together, things being kind of stuck together. A ladder could be a relationship between heaven and earth, and so on. So I do have this PowerPoint linked on the class website. You can go back and look at more specifics here. Color choices to enforce your symbols. Different colors have different emotions and feelings. So again, you can read through these on the PowerPoint as you're putting your artwork together, but think about colors and how those can relate to your artwork. In your notes, take a minute, and as I click through these, and again, have that PowerPoint open separately because I'll just click through them quickly in the video here. But go back, look at the PowerPoint, and fill in for each of these pictures, what symbols do you see, and what do you think they mean? So here's the first one. The second one, again, lists the symbols. Third one, fourth, fifth, and sixth. So go through, look at them, fill out what symbols, what you think they mean in your notes. And then here is weather as a symbol. Think about different types of weather and how those can symbolize emotion and different meaning in your artwork. All right, so just a couple more things here to mention. Here are the project steps and requirements. So hopefully at this point you have a pretty good idea of what symbolism is and how you can apply it into your artwork. The first part of this project, or the first thing we're going to be working on next, is starting to brainstorm. So underneath this, on your notes, there's a section to answer some questions about artists who have previously used that specific theme that you're working with. You're going to create a mind map to get your ideas out onto your paper. So if you scroll down, there's a video that will walk you through the steps of creating that. And then just regular brainstorming in your sketchbook. So drawing out and sketching your ideas. And then project background is another requirement. So remember that you have to use something other than paper or canvas for this. Try to use something that's going to enforce your theme more. And I have some examples that I'll show you in a second of that. Techniques. So like with the last project, there were lots of techniques where you're putting together your portrait projects. You could use some of those techniques, or if there's something that's not listed on this PowerPoint that's linked here, you could ask me if that would count as well. I know a lot of the examples in this PowerPoint are photography related, but there's a bunch mixed in there for painting techniques and different ideas, just to add an extra step and have that project be taken to a new level. So look over that PowerPoint that is linked in your notes when you get there, or linked in the brainstorming, and pick out at least one that you think would be fun to try out for this project. Another requirement that I'll be looking for on your rubric is symbolism. You need to have at least 3 symbols included in your composition. So think about whether it's color, value, different objects. Think about how you can represent and symbolize your theme and answer that essential question. And the last thing is rules of composition and elements of art that we talked about on previous projects. You'll need to have all of those included. So I'll have those listed on the notes and brainstorming as well. But make sure that you're being creative with this project and coming up with some unique ideas. Here's a few examples of different backgrounds that you could use. So again, other than canvas or paper, you could maybe use a piece of wood. You could maybe have some different pieces of bark or sticks taped together. You could use tinfoil as the background and maybe do something with texture and then adding paint on top of the texture. You could find some different objects to paint on top of, or even just using something similar to paper is fine. So newspaper, maybe collage a magazine in the background and paint on top of that. Here's another example with objects. And then if you wanted to do something where you're incorporating an object into your picture or into your drawing somehow, and have paper in the background, that's something we can talk about. So if you wanted to kind of go this route, I'm okay with that too. Here's a link to all of the guiding questions to choose from. This is linked in your notes. So go through, start answering the brainstorming on your notes. Pick at least 3 that you think are interesting and that you're able to answer and give some good symbols for. So start looking through that list and filling out the rest of the brainstorming steps that are in your notes.